Welcome everyone to this live podcast on Twitch, where you can find the news from the research industry that how our researchers keep on researching on various topics and domains to keep our lifestyle better and useful, of course. And yes, this podcast are available on Spotify, and listening to this podcast will be enough for you guys as it acts like an archive on the daily basis, providing you the information from the research industry. So let's get started without wasting any further time. The first topic of the day is robotic researcher turned the public's ideas into Robo Fish reality. Okay, let's see. A robot fish that filters microplastic has been brought to life after it's won the University of Surrey public competition. The, na- the natural robotic contest, the robot fish design, which was designed by a student named Eleanor McIntosh, was selected by an international panel of judges because it could be a part of a solution to minimize plastic pollution in our waterways. Okay, man. The competition, which ran in the summer of 2022, was open to anyone who had an idea for a by inspired robot with the promise that the winner would be turned into a working prototype. Dr. Robert Seidel, lecturer at the University of Surrey and the context creator, says we don't know where the majority of plastic dumped into our waterways ends up. We hope that this robofish and its future descendants are the first step in the right direction to helping us to find and eventually control this plastic pollution problem. The contest received ideas from across the globe, from forest protecting beard robots to crab inspired space robots, even a robotic sea organ. Okay, it's a fish, so I mean, it's been ca- uh, compared by those by that fish. Yep. The robot fish is about the size of a salmon and featured a set of gills which filter the water as it swims. Design is open source and free download on the Context website. It's on the given in our article. So if you are willing to check it, please. Otherwise, yep. Anyone with a 3D printer can own one. Okay. Dr. Sidal added, the RoboFish will join after pollution fighting robots under development at the University of Surrey, helping to make the world more sustainable. Of course, man, of course. So, these are this is the new uh, device coming in the market by, by, मतलब, by what we call it, researcher, developer. It's kind of like a developer. It's suited them. So it's been developed by this scientist named by this student named Eleanor McIntosh. So great man, great great product for the sustainable the environment and for the sea, of course. It's being used in various applications like robotic researcher turned the public idea into robofish reality. By cleaning the not by the cleaning the sea, mostly likely to see anything under the sea. So great man. Moving on towards next topic. Scared of injections? Try a variable soft robot to ease uh, aversion to needles. Okay. While most of us never without our smartphone, of course, robots may also soon become indispensable companions. Hmm. Of course, man. It certainly seems so based on the recent experiment conducted by researchers in Japan who developed a hand-held soft robot that can improve the experience of patient while undergoing potentially unpleasant medical procedures such as injection during the campaign to encourage vaccination against COVID-19. Public health officials recognized that some people are simply afraid of needles, which contributed to reduced vaccination rates. While the problems of patient anxiety and pain during medical procedure have been well studied, there remains a need to test and implement solutions to help patients. Yep, man. In a recent published study in Scientific Reports, researchers at the University of Tutsukuba have developed a variable soft robot for patients to use during treatments in an attempt to ease their pain. On being subjected to a moderate heat stimulus, the study participants who wore the robot experienced less pain than in the test in which they did not wear the robot. Our results suggest that the use of wearable soft robot may reduce fear as well as elevate the perception of pain during medical treatment, including vaccinations, says senior author Professor Fumihide Tanaka. The soft fur covered robot the scientists called Relivo was designed to be attached to the participant hand. It contained small airbags that could inflate in response to hand movement. The researcher tested its effectiveness under various conditions based on the clenching of the participant hand while applying the painful thermal stimulus to the other arm that was not being used to hold the robot. Okay. The researcher also measured the level of oxytocin and cortisol, which are the biomarker for stress, from the patient's saliva samples. Additionally, subjective pain ratings were recorded using an assessment scale, and a survey test was conducted to evaluate the patient's fear of injection and psychological state before and after the experiment. Hmm. Great man. The researcher found that the holding the robot helped relieve the experience for patient regardless of the experiment condition used and spec, speculated that the feelings of well-being that can be created by human touch may have also been activated by the robot. It is well known that interpersonal touch can reduce pain and fear, and we believe that this effect can be achieved even with non-living soft robots, states Professor Tanka. This may be useful when actual human contact is not feasible, such as during pandemics. Future version of the robot might use a control gaze or even AR augmented reality technology to help build a connection with the patient or distract from them from pain perception in various situations. So, great man. Not not great. What can I say about that? We can in personal touch to reduce the pain, and we believe that this effect can achieve even with the non-living soft robots. I mean, because I mean, I'm not that kind of person uh, that simply tells you that this is the right thing, and if you're not comfortable with it, you can't do it. I mean, it's a direct injection, and you have to morale the boost of the patient itself to not fear of any needles in their life. I mean, why is it necessary? I don't have any logic behind it to see these things. So okay, never mind. It's everybody personal choice, so it's not me, of course. Moving on towards next topic: how electric vehicle charges can help make cities more equitable and resilient. Okay. The passage of recent legislation opens a unique window to build back from decades of inequities. The U.S. Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Bill provides 1.5 trillion of infrastructure funding, covering everything from lead pipe replacement to environmental remediation. The Inflation Reduction Act (IRA) allocates $60 billion specifically for environmental justice. Each contains ambitious goals that aim to address systematic inequalities, but whether, how, and when these goals will be met remains to be determined. Cities stand as one of the most acute environment of injustice. Decades of redlining and racist policies have left many black, brown, indigenous, and other marginalized communities living in dangerous environments that are proportionality, disproportionately impacted by climate change. Yeah, man. For example, the Mott Haven neighborhood in the South Bronx has suffered from decades of underinvestment in infrastructure and air quality controls. Today, Mott Haven has some of the worst air pollution levels in the country and abnormally high asthma rates. It's been nicknamed Asthma Alley. Okay. Urban communities are also plagued by transit deserts. Without ready access to public transportation options, communities are barred from education, employment, and health opportunity, creating a compounding insidious effect over time. Studies show a significant racial access gap in cities. BIPOC communities have less of an ability to reach jobs in a timely manner via public transit. To meet the goals of the bills and truly build back better, we need to attend to the centuries of systematic underinvestment plaguing marginalized urban communities. I believe that electric vehicles can be an important piece of this puzzle, complementing the expansion of public transportation networks if charges are distributed equitably. Okay. Personal electric vehicles reach places that public transit can't. Electrification cleans local air, protecting health. Electric vehicles (EVs) saves on fuel and maintenance, ultimately putting money back in the pockets of the owner and the entire community. While the upfront cost of the EVs is prohibitively expensive for most, recent legislation will accelerate affordability. The IRA expands credit for new electric vehicle purchases and institute new credit for used EVs. It is a major step towards widespread EV adoption. Another major step forward, the Jobs Bill allocates $7.5 billion to build an electric vehicle charging network to tackle range anxiety. If deployed right, the infrastructure can deliver the benefit of electric vehicles to all. The question becomes, what are the right infrastructure investments to prioritize equity and resilience? Curbside charging projects are an exciting first step. New York City installed 60 charging stations across its boroughs. These stations are accessible, less expensive than private charging options, and public. Still, standalone charging stations require extensive permitting and construction, making them both costly and time intensive. As such, the Department of Transportation is currently exploring additional innovative curbside charging options through its Dot Studio. One type of this solution has already been deployed in Europe. London launched a pilot converting 1,000 lampposts into chargers. Due to its widespread success, there are goals to expand the program to 50,000 lamppost charging stations across the country by 2025. Retrofitting existing infrastructure saved community money, time, and public space. Whether done through standalone station or retrofits, charging network should be both ubiquitous and smart. Distributed public charging can tackle transit deserts, local air pollution at expensive charging costs, and new smart technologies could allow networks to even better serve communities. First, software charging station could make your electricity cheaper the longer you stayed parked. Manage charging integrations in which software actively control load and charging speed, reduce power demands by prioritizing off-peak hours. A managed charging project in Brooklyn showed a reduction of 45% of power demand, significantly reducing cost while ensuring reliability. By shifting demand from peak hours to times when cleaner, cheaper energy sources are producing electricity. Managed charging can also incentivize renewable generation and clean the air. It can provide communities with a safer grid, more money in their pocket, and cleaner air to breathe. I mean, it's a win-win for everyone, for the community and for the environment. So, why not? I mean. Furthermore, new technology could allow your parked car to save your community during a blackout. Vehicle to grid V2G technology allow electric vehicle battery to send power back to the grid through bi-directional charging. As marginalized communities are most at risk for climate disasters, A distributed network V2G chargers could turn local vehicles into backup generators, providing a community safety net in times of crisis, like managed charging. V2G can also provide financial incentives to the vehicle drivers. Driver could earn revenue for giving energy back to the grid during costly peak hours and only pull power at low cost times. Oh. In Colorado, a bi-directional charge project allowed the city of Boulder to save $270 per month while charging its fleet of vehicles, approximately equivalent to the monthly lease payment for popular EVs. Ultimately, getting paid to park your car could elevate the cost burdens of electric vehicle ownership, allowing wider affordability across all communities. This is only the beginning. This is only the beginning. Okay, smart charging station could one day come to the rescue with emergency call buttons. They could educate people with air quality data. They could empower the community they call home. This is not a sci-fi dream. These resilient and equitable technology exist today. Oh man, I mean, it deserve, man, deserve. Building back better should not be limited to the COVID pandemic or recent climate disasters. The job bills and the IRA must address the decades of underinvestment in frontline communities that need it most. This decision cannot be made in a silo. Frontline community members must be central to the process to understand which solution fit their unique needs. Without the community at the table, we risk perpetuating the inequities that exist today. Ultimately, by prioritizing equity and resilience in decision making today, we can achieve the true potential of this landmark legislation and build a better world for all. Of course, man, of course. Uh, I mean, it's a win win for everyone, even for the consumers, for the users, for the government, for the environment. I mean, it's a uh, best solution given uh, by this, I mean, technology. Moving on to this next topic, we asked home owners what they need to make homes greener. Hear what they said. Okay. As winter approaches and with energy bills at record high, insulating the UK leaky homes has never been more urgent, with 40% of greenhouse gas emission coming from heating and powering homes. It would also help the country meet its climate change targets, a genuine win-win. Okay. Yet current policy to encourage more efficient energy use and so lower emissions are failing. The UK housing stock is one of the worst insulated of all advanced economies. Installation rates for loft, cavity wall, and solid wall insulation all need to grow by an order of magnitude by the middle of this decade. Installation rates for electric heat pumps need to reach 1 million a year in new and existing homes by 2030, up from around 54,000 in 2021. There is currently little or no help for the roughly 64% of households who own their own home to make this improvement unless the quality for schemes targeting those on a very low incomes. The government assumed they will find the money to invest in better insulation, replace their gas boilers with heat pumps, but this is reckless. The government owns advisory body, the Climate Change Committee (CCC), has criticized the current lack of support for homeowners. So how could we design better policy to help homeowners make their home fit for the future? We teamed up with the CCC to try to find out. Rather than relying just on economic modeling and technical analysis that policymakers normally reach for, we wanted to try a new approach, asking homeowners that would work best for them. Okay? What our panel said. Hmm. As a part of our project on public engagement and climate change at Lancaster University, we set up and oversaw a citizen panel. The panel consisted of 24 people demographically representative of UK homeowners in terms of age, ethnicity, housing type, and attitudes to climate change. Okay, participants spent 25 hours over 7 sessions, both online and in person, learning about how to eliminate carbon emission from homes and designing solutions they thought would work for owner uh, occupiers. Okay, CCC analysis, whose day job is to analyze how well government policy aligns with the UK legally binding climate targets, took part in the discussion and helped to shape the findings. The panel told us that they are care about tackling climate change and want to act, but the government assumption the homeowners will take the initiative and make the investment their homes need is wide of the mark. Instead, panelists stressed that they would need guidance and help with cost if they were to make changes. The panelists designed a comprehensive package of support based around the life cycle of owning a home, buying it, living in it, and renovating it. This would include a logbook provided to all home buyers with reliable information on what the house needed and what the cost and benefit would be. Financial incentives would help homeowners make changes at each stage, such as stamp duty rebates and cheap financing for cosmetic renovation. When rolled together with energy retrofits, regulation would ban the most polluting products such as gas boilers. We have now published these findings, and the CCC has returned to Graham Stewart, MP, the UK climate change minister, to inform him. Okay. The benefit of deliberation. Getting policy experts to talk with the members of the public seemed to be an effective way to make climate policy. There have been efforts to try this before, most notably Climate Assembly UK, which asked ordinary people about their support for different climate policy. We went a step further by asking panelists to work with analysts to design a policy from scratch. Our panel showed that giving people the opportunity to consider options and weigh up the evidence can result in workable solutions which chime with the views and life experience of the people most affected. Neglecting this perspective while designing policy can invite a backlash. Expecting people to make significant changes to their lives without adequate support would threaten the UK ability to meet its climate targets. The standard tool for policy analysis, such as economic modeling and technical forecasting, are not obsolete, but they must be complemented by more sophisticated understanding of how policy affect lives. Deliberative exercise like our panel, which include informed discussions, are quite different to other ways of taking the public temperature like polls or surveys with a large sample size. When it comes to complex problems with their solution, many people lack stable or well-informed preference about what they want to see happen. It is not the initial reaction to an idea captured through a poll that counts, but whether people actually support it once it is affecting their lives. In Switzerland, where many policies are put to a referendum, research has shown significant difference between what people say their preference are in surveys and what they end up voting for. Deliberation offers people enough information and time to develop their understanding of how different policy pollution solutions will affect them and those like them. The same approach we use could be applied to designing low carbon transport in cities and towns or reforms to the food system that balance the need for sustainability with thriving rural economies. We would likely to see a much wider use of deliberation by organizations developing and delivering climate policy, from government department to local and regional authorities to think tanks and civil society groups. With ever pressing emission reduction targets, every policy misstep costs precious time. Why would policymakers not want to ensure they get it right the first time around? Okay, moving on to our next topic. protein design with artificial intelligence will target water pollutants. Okay, let's see. If you have ever used a text-based artificial intelligence image generator like Carrion or Dell E, with a few word prompts that the AI tool create image that are both realistic and completely synthesized. Of course, man. The machine learning that powers such website will scan millions of images on the internet, analyze them, and assemble facets of them into fresh but fake images. Of course. Now, University of uh, Kansas researchers are working to use similar machine learning process to build a new protein designed to detect water pollutants. A KU research plan to use machine learning to create deep-fake membrane beta barial proteins, a class of natural successful biosensor designed to detect polluting metal ions in water. These beta barrels are super useful because they can bring things across membrane, said principal investigator Joanna Skloski, associate professor of molecular bioscience at KU. Barrels make good enzymes. There are so many different things that barrels can do. Previous research on the tube, while tube like beta barrels, has altered their binding properties for a variety of tasks. However, much of this work was arduous and completed by hand, usually resulting with minor variation of a limited number of scaffolds or barrel structures. In this case, we are using machine learning to generate a large number of barrels, Kluski said. But how? What? How about if we can both generate barrels and have them be useful? We ask ourselves, what's biotechnology application of barrels? Well, one would be metal sensor that could perhaps detect metal pollutants. Skloski and her co-principal investigator, Professor Rachel Contley and Margarita Otsadishi of Haifa University in Israel, along with KU postdoctoral fellow Daniel Montezano, will develop a new machine learning process that generates beta barrel with scaffolds similar to those found in nature, but with different sequences. There's a website called the This X Does Not Exist. Sclusy said, if you go to that site, you see all these AI generated things and people don't really exist. But a computer made an image, for instance, of a cat, but that's not really a cat. A computer took a bunch of pictures of cats and said, okay, we can just sort of generate as many cat pictures as you want now because we figured out what is a cat. We need to make something real so we see it more like generating a recipe. The question is how to make computer generate a recipe for proteins. Okay. Beta barrels are well suited to advancement through machine learning because natural proteins are a sort of small blip in the number of possible sequences. If a computer algorithm can learn the essence of what makes a protein, Sclusy said, it will avoid generating useless sequences. Most sequences would never actually be protein, they wouldn't have a particular fold, she said. They would just kind of bond with themselves in weird, non predictable ways over and over again. To be a protein, you need a sequence that make one shape. When people try to make random sequences or even somewhat directed sequences, they found that only a very, very small percentage of them might actually be a protein. With a machine learning creating new and viable sequences resulting in the common faults, Krusky and our colleagues hope to generate a beta barrel especially well suited to finding metal ions in water. This result of the work will be a biosensor based on beta barrel that can identify pollutants like lead in waterways. If we make them the right size, this molecule will be ideal to put some particular metal in, and you can have the right substituents so that it would bind that metal He said, because it's in a membrane, it can give some sort of conductance difference. There's a difference between when it's bound, when it's not bound. If you are able to do that, you could sense for different metals and different concentration of these metals. There are a lot of big steps we want to accomplish, but I'm hopeful and excited. So these are the things. These are the researchers on the deepfake project designed by our scientist, data scientist, or what? Yeah. Moving on to our next topic: a strategy to fabricate castride solar cells with 13% efficiency. Hmm. Castride Cu2 zinc SNS4 CZTS is a sulfur mineral with a unique lattice structure that can be considered as derived from caclo or chalcopride Cu ion acetate CIS by substituting two atoms of iron 3 plus iron iodine, I guess, I mean, in the chalcopride of by one atom of zinc 2 plus and one atom of sodium 4 plus. The elements included in this mineral and this derivative Cu2 zinc SN SSE4 CZT is a short form to say it, are less toxic and abductant on Earth. Okay, which could be very advantage for the development of more sustainable and low cost technologies. Okay, man. Over the past few decades, material scientists and engineers have been exploring the possibility of using castride material to create more affordable and sustainable solar cells. Despite extensive effort in this direction, the high power efficiency attained by castride solar cell in 12.6%, which can first reported in 2013. Researcher at Nanjing University of Post and Telecommunication, Fudan University, the Chinese Academy of Science, and University of Washington have recently surpassed this decade-long record, developing a better performing castride CDS interface that could enable the creation of solar cells with a 13% efficiency. This interface, presented in a paper published in Nature Energy, could enable the creation of more efficient and better performing castride solar cells. The Nature Energy paper builds on our previous work. We showed that the castrides Cu2 zinc SN, CZT, SSE, and AG, CU, AG is the main. Okay, zinc SN, AZ, AZZ, SAC, observer fabricated from SN chloride based DMSO solution, which improves device performance with the reduced recombination near castride CDS interface. Hyun Zin, one of the researchers who carried out the study, told Tech Explore. The primary objective of the Nature paper was to understand the origin of the defective heterojunction interface of castride CDS and how thermal annealing greatly reduces the concentration of the defects. In that experiment, Zen and his colleagues showed that a castride CDS heterofunction is constructed on a zinc poor surface on zinc 2 plus dissolves during the chemical bond deposition process. As a result, CD2 plus occupies site previously occupied by zinc 2 plus is redeposited into CDS, resulting in a defective interface with a lattice mismatched. To reconstruct the aptizile interface, the researcher applied a technique known as low temperature annealing on the castride CDS junction. This technique allowed them to derive the migration of CD2 plus from the observer layer back to the CDS side and zinc 2 plus from the observer bulk to the material surface. The precursor film fabricated from SN chloride based DM solution have castratrides structures already formed, which takes a direct phase transformation grain growth mechanism to form CTZ SSE and ACZ TSSE observer films during salination. Salinization. Zinn said, our approach avoids secondary phase and thus creates a uniform and less defective observer. The researcher evaluated the castricide CDS interface they created in a series of tests and found that it outperformed previously created castricide interfaces. That initial fabrication method was found to significantly improve the open circuit voltage and fill factor of solar cell devices, achieving a certified efficiency of 12.96% over a small area 0.11% centimeter square and 11.7% over a large area 1.1 centimeter square. In the future, the experimental method devised by Zinn and his colleagues could enable the development of crystallized CDS interface with more uniform observer films. This interface could in turn to be used to develop better performing crystallized solar cells. For the first time, we unveil how the crystallized CDS heterojunction is constructed based on zinc pore surface and why it is defective due to occupation of CD2 plus on zinc vacancy, which contrasts with CIGS from which castricide is inverted. Zinn added, in our next works, we plan to further engineer the defects of castricides. Okay, man, okay. I mean, if it's gonna be used for various application, it's an important thing for to use it, and as it provide the solar cells, solar energy cells. So I mean, it's a material which gonna be used in various uh, to generate electricity, to generate many applications, of course, because it's an energy, it's a source of an energy. So yep. Moving on towards the next topic. Remember, this castricide is going to be, I mean, used in many various things. So yeah. Moving on towards next topic. Cats distinguish between speech directed at them and humans. Okay. A small study has found that cats may change their behavior when they hear their owner's voice talking in a tone directed to them, the cats, but not when hearing the voice of a stranger or their owner's voice directed at another person. The study of 16 cats is published in the journal Animal Cognition adds to evidence that cats may form strong bonds with their owners. Human tone is known to vary depending on to whom the speech is directed, such as when talking to infants and dogs. The tone of human speech has been shown in previous studies to change when directed at cats, but less is known about how cats react this. Charlotte de Maison and colleagues from the Université Paris Nanterre, France, investigated how 16 cats reached a pre-recorded voice from both their owner and that of stranger when saying phrases in cat directed and human adulted directed tones. The author investigated three conditions, with the first condition changing the voice of the speaker from a stranger voice to the cat owners. The second and the third condition changed the tone called cat directed or adult directed for the cat owners or a stranger voice, respectively. The author recorded and rated the behavior intensity of cats reacting to the audio, checking for behaviors such as resting, ear moving, pupil dilation, and the tail moving, among others. In the first condition, 10 out of 16 cats showed a decrease in behavior intensity as they heard three audio clips of a stranger voice calling them by their name. However, when hearing their voice, owner voice, their behavior intensity significantly increased. Again, the cat displayed behavior such as turning their ears to the speaker, increased movement around the room, and pupil dilation when hearing their owner's voice. The author suggests that the sudden rebound in behavior indicates that cats could discriminate their owner voice from that of a stranger. In the second condition, 10 cats, eight of which where the same from the first condition decreased the behavior as they heard audio from their owner in an adult directed tone, but significantly increased their behavior when hearing the cat directed tone from their owner. The change in behavior intensity was not found in the third direction when a stranger was speaking in an adult directed and cat directed tone. The author observed that the cat can distinguish when their owner is talking in a cat directed tone compared to an adult directed tone, but didn't react or any different when a stranger changes tone. The small sample size used in the study may not represent all cat behavior, but the author proposed that future research could investigate whether their findings can be replicated in more socialized cats that are used in interacting with strangers. The author suggests that the findings bring a new dimension to cat human relationships, with cat communication potential relying on experience of the speaker voice. They conclude that one-to-one relationships are important for cats and humans to form strong bonds. Of course, man, of course. Okay. I mean, it's a human interaction with the animal thing, so of course, man. Moving on to our next topic. Study offers new shaper proof of worldly plates, tectonics, flipping of geomagnetic poles. Okay. New researcher analyzing piece of the most ancient rock on the planet had some of the sharpest evidence, yet the earth crust was pushing the pulling in a manner similar to modern plate tectonics at least 3.25 million years ago. The study also provides the earliest proof of when the planet magnetic north and south poles swapped places. The two results offer clues into how such geological changes may have resulted in an environment more conducive to the development of life on the planet. The work described in PNAS and led by Harvard geologists Alec Brainerd and Roger Few focused on a portion of the Pilbara Craton in Western Australia, one of the oldest and most stable pieces of the earth crust. Using novel techniques and equipment, the researchers show the same of the earth's earliest surface was moving at a rate of 6.1 centimeter per year and 0.55 degrees every million years. That speed more than double the rate the ancient crust was shown to be moving in a previous study by the same researcher. Both the speed and direction of the latitudinal drift leaves plates tectonics as the most logical and strongest explanation for it. There is a lot of work that seems to suggest that early in Earth history, plate tectonics wasn't actually the dominant way in which the planet's internal heat get released as it is today through the shifting of plates, said Brainerd, a PhD candidate in the Graduate School of Arts and Science and a member of Harvard Paleomagnetics Lab. This evidence lets us much more confidently rule out explanations that don't involve plate tectonics. For example, the researcher can now argue against phenomena called true power polar wander and stagnant lid tectonics, which can both cause the Earth's surface to shift but aren't part of modern style plate tectonics. The result lean more toward plate tectonic motion because the newly discovered higher rate of speed is inconsistent with respect of the other two processes. In the paper, the scientists also describe what's believed in the to be the oldest evidence of when Earth reserved its geomagnetic fields, meaning the magnetic north and south pole flipped locations. This type of flip flop is a common occurrence in Earth geologic history, with the pole reversing 183 times in the last 83 million years and perhaps several hundred times in the past 160 million years, according to NASA. The reversal tells us a great deal about the planet magnetic field 3.2 billion years ago. Key among this application in the is that the magnetic field was likely stable and strong, unable to keep solar winds from eroding the atmosphere. This insight, combined with the result of plate tectonics, offers clues to the condition under which the earliest form of life developed. It's paint this picture of an early Earth that was already really geodynamically mature. Brenner said it had a lot of the same sorts of dynamic processes that result in Earth that has essentially more stable environment and surface condition, making it more feasible for life to evolve and develop. Today, the Earth's outer shell consists of about 15 shifting blocks of crust or plates which hold the planet, continents, and oceans. Over eons, and plates drifted into each other and apart, forming new continents and mountains and exposing new rocks to the atmosphere, which led to chemical reactions that stabilized Earth's surface temperature over billion of years. Evidence of when plate tectonic started is hard to come by because the oldest pieces of crust are thrust into the interior mantle, never to resurface. Over only 5% of all rocks on Earth are older than 2.5 billion years old, and no rock is older than about 4 billion years. Overall, the study adds to growing research that tectonic movement occurred relatively early in Earth's 4.5 billion years history, and that early forms of life came about in more moderate environment. Member of the project revisited the Pilbara Craton in 2018, which stretches about 300 miles across. They drilled into the primordial, the thick slab of crust, there to collect samples that, back in Cambridge, were analyzed for their magnetic history using magnetometers, demagnetizing equipment, and the quantum diamond microscope, which images the magnetic field of a sample and precisely identifies the nature of the magnetized particle. The researcher created a suite of new techniques for determining the age and way the sample become magnetized. This allows the researcher to determine how and when and which direction the crust shifted, as well as a magnetic influence coming from Earth's geomagnetic poles. The quantum diamond microscope was developed in a collaboration between a Harvard researcher in the Department of Earth and Planet Sciences (EPS) and of Physics. For future studies, Few and Brenner plan keep their focus on Pilbara Craton, which also looking beyond it to other ancient crusts around the world. They hope to find older evidence of modern like plate motion, and when the Earth's magnetic poles flipped, finally being able to reliably and read these very ancient rocks opens up so many possibilities for observing a time period that often is known more through theory than a solid data, said Few, professor of EPS in the Faculty of Arts and Sciences. Ultimately, we have a good shot at reconstructing not just when tectonic plates started moving, but also how their motions and therefore the deep seated Earth interior processes that drive them have changed through time. Okay, man, okay. Moving on to our next topic. A new approach that currently described by the Clean Air Act could eliminate air pollution disparities. Okay. When air quality has improved dramatically over the past 50 years, thanks in part to the Clean Air Act, people of colors at every income level in the United States are still exposed to a higher than average level of air pollution. A team led by researchers at the University of Washington wanted to know if the Clean Air Act is capable of reducing this disparity or if a new approach would be needed. The team compared two approaches that mirror main aspects of the Clean Air Act, and the third approach that is not commonly used to see if it would be better at addressing disparity across the contiguous US. The researcher used national emissions data to model each strategy, targeting specific emissions sources across the US, requiring regions to adhere to specific concentration standards or reducing emission in specific communities. While the first two approaches based on the Clean Air Act didn't get rid of disparities, the community specific approach eliminated pollution disparity and reduced pollution exposure overall. The team published their This findings October 24th in the proceeding of the National Academy of Sciences. In early research, we wanted to know which pollution sources were responsible for this disparity, but we found that nearly all sources led to unequal exposure. So we thought what it's going to take. Here we tried three approaches to see which would be the best for addressing these disparities, said senior author Julian Marshall, a UW professor of civil and environmental engineering. The two approaches that mirror aspects of the Clean Air Act were pretty weak at addressing disparities. The third approach, targeting emission in specific location, is not commonly done, but in something overburdened communities have been asking for 40 years. Fine particles mattered. Pollution of PM 2.5 is less than 2.5 micrometers in diameter, about 3% of the diameter of a human hair. PM 2.5 comes from vehicle exhaust, fertilizer and other agricultural emission, electricity generation from fossil fuel, forest fires and burning of fuels such as wood, oil, diesel, gasoline and coal. This tiny particle can lead to heart attacks, strokes, lung cancer and other diseases, and are estimated to be responsible for about 90,000 deaths each year in the US. The researcher tested the three potential strategies using a tool called InMap, which Marshall and other co-author developed. InMap model the chemistry and physics of PM 2.5, including how it is formed in the atmosphere, how it dissipates, and how wind patterns move it from one location to another. The team modeled these approaches with national emission data from 2014 because it was the most recent data set available at the time of this study. The researcher looked at how efficiently and effectively each approach reduced average pollution exposure for all people and how well it eliminated the disparity for people of color. While the emission source and concentration standard approaches were successful in reducing overall exposure across the country, this method failed to address pollution disparities. Our optimization model, what happens if we maximize the reduction in disparities? If an approach cannot address disparities even when optimized to do so, then any real world implementation of the approach will also not address disparities, said lead author Zhenzhou Wang, a doctoral student in civil and environmental engineering. But we saw that even with the less than 1% of emission reductions, targeting specific locations, the pollution disparity that have persisted for decades were reduced to zero. Implementing this location specific approach would require additional work to identify which location would be the best to target, and working with the communities there to identify how to reduce emissions, the team said. Current regulations have improved average air pollution levels, but they have not addressed structural inequality and often have ignored the voices and lived experience of people in overburdened communities, including their request to focus greater attention on sources impacting their communities, Marshall said. This finding reflects historical experiences because of redlining and other racist urban planning from many decades ago. Many pollution sources are more likely to be located in black and brown communities. If we wish to address current inequalities, we need an approach that reflects and acknowledges this historical context. Additionally, co-authored are Joshua Apte and Kionsionika Ivy, both at the University of California, Berkeley, Jason Hill at the University of Minnesota, Reagan Patterson at the University of California, Los Angeles, Ellen Robinson at Carnegie Mellon University, and Christopher Tensum at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. Okay, moving on to the next topic. New approach to cosmic magnet manufacturing could reduce reliance on rare earth in low carbon technologies. Okay. Researchers have discovered a potential new method for making the high performance magnet used in wind turbines and electric cars without the need of rare earth elements, which are almost exclusively sourced in China. Okay, man. Okay, okay. Fine, fine, fine. Great. A team from the University of Cambridge, working with colleagues from Austria, found a new way to make a possible replacement for rare earth magnet tetra-tanide, a cosmic magnet that takes millions of years to develop naturally in meteorites. Previous attempts to make tetra-tanide in the laboratory have relied on impractical extreme method, but the addition of a common element, phosphorus, could mean that it's possible to make tetra-tanide artificially and at a scale without any specialized treatment or expensive techniques. The results are reported in the journal Advanced Sciences. A patent application on the technology has been filed by Cambridge Enterprise, the University Commercialization Arm, and the Austrian Academy of Sciences. High performance magnets are a vital technology for building a zero carbon economy, and the best permanent magnets currently available contain rare earth elements. Despite their name, rare earths are plentiful in earth crust. However, in China has a near monopoly on global production in 2017. 81% of rare earths worldwide were sourced from China. Other countries such as Australia also mine this element, but as geopolitical tension with China increase, there are concerns that rare earth supply could be at risk. Rare earth deposit exist elsewhere, but the mining operations are highly disruptive. You have to extract a huge amount of material to get a small volume of rare earth, said Professor Lindsay Greer from Cambridge Department of Material Science and Metallurgy, who led the research. Between the environmental impact and the heavy reliance on China, there been an urgent search for alternative materials that do not require rare earth. Okay, man. Tetratenide and iron nickel alloy with a particular order atomic structure is one of the most promising of those alternatives. Tetratenide forms over millions of years as the meteorite slowly cools, giving the iron and nickel atoms enough time to order themselves in a particular stacking sequence within the crystalline structure, ultimately resulting in a material with magnetic property approaching those of rare earth magnets. In the 1960s, scientists were able to artificially form tetratenide by bombarding iron nickel alloys with neutrons, enabling the atom to form the desired order stacking. But this technique is not suitable for mass production. Since then, scientists have been fascinating with getting that order structure, but it's always felt like something that was very far away, said Greer. Despite many attempts over the years, it has not yet been possible to make tetratenide on anything approaching an industrial scale. Now, Greer and his colleagues from the Austrian Academy of Science and the Montreux University in Lebanon have found a possible alternative that doesn't require millions of years of cooling or neutron irradiation. The team were studying the mechanical properties of iron nickel alloys containing small atoms of phosphorus, an element that is also present in meteorites. The pattern of phase inside this material showed the expected tree level growth structure called dendrites. For most people, it would have ended there, nothing interesting to see in the dendrites. But when I looked closer, I saw an interesting diffraction pattern indicating an ordered atomic structure, said first author Dr. Yuri Ivanov, who completed the work while at Cambridge and is now based at the Italian Institute of Technology in Genoa. At first glance, the diffraction pattern of tetratenide looks like that of the structure expected for iron nickel alloys, namely a disordered crystal not of interest as a high performance magnet. It took Avenue closer look to identify the tetratenide, but even so, Greer says it is strange not no one noticed it before. The researcher says that phosphorus, which is present in meteorites, allows the iron and nickel atom to move faster, enabling to form the necessary order stacking without waiting for millions of years. By mixing iron, nickel, and phosphorus in the right quantities, they were able to speed up tendrite formation by between 11 and 15 order of magnitude, such that it forms over a few seconds in simple casting. What was an what was so astonishing was that no special treatment was needed. We just melted the alloy, poured it into a mold, and we had tetratenite, said Greer. The previous view in the field was that you couldn't get tetratenite unless you did something extreme, because otherwise you did have to wait millions of years for it to form. This result represents a total change in how we think about this material. While the researchers have found a promising method to produce tetratenite, more work is needed to determine whether it will be suitable for high performance magnets. The team are hoping to work on this with major magnet manufacturers. The work may also force a revision of views on whether the formation of tetratenite is meteorites really does take millions of years. Okay, man. Great, great. So these are the things. These are the study given by our scientists and researchers on the rare earth elements which have low carbon uh, efficiency. Of course, for the sustainable environment. So, yep. And this is the last article of this podcast. At the last, I just wanna say, you guys, keep researching, stay curious, stay healthy.